Alabama did what? 4th and 31, they did what?
It's Hail Mary time.
Welcome back into the Coaches Depot. Two brothers talking sports. Josh and Craig. This is going to be our Iron Bowl reaction. What happened over last night, actually, up in Auburn, Alabama. While you're here, guys, you like what we're doing here, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, join us as we grow our community of fans and sports and all that kind of good stuff that we talk about, guys. So Alabama wins the game 27-24. And a lot of times we go from beginning to the end. We're going to go in, kind of work our way backwards here. We're going to start with that last few minutes of the ball game, and we'll start with the punt. James Burnham goes back to punt. The receiver from Auburn takes a slip, ball cuts loose, and gets into Bama's hands. They pick it up. Of course, you can't advance it in college. So what's some of your first thoughts after Bama recovers that fumble? That was about 4 minutes left, by the way.
Yeah. So when they punted the ball away, I was, as me and you were sitting there together watching it, I was sitting there trying to think the clock in my mind. I was sitting there thinking, all right, they're going to punt. Do they have enough time to get the ball back? That's what I was thinking. And then I see the muff punt, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on a second. Hold on. So when Alabama got the ball after the muff punt by LSU transfer Coy Moore, thank you there, Coy. Appreciate that, pal. After the muff punt right there, Alabama gets the ball, and they run a couple of plays, whatever, get down close. I'm like, man, they're going to score. The game's going to be over. That ball game, that's it. They're in range right now. Blah blah blah. That was my first thoughts, and then it's kind of like, I was, as an Alabama fan, which I'm sure everybody knows, Josh and I are both Alabama fans, but we are objective to college football and other sports as well. But when they got the ball back, I'm sitting there, yay, yay, yay. And then it's like you go from here to here, like, and then here and then here. I'm like, like what's going on? It's like I hit, three triple diamonds on a slot machine, and then the very next spin they take it all away and only bet $10. Like, I'm like, what's going on here? So
Yeah.
flow of
So
emotional ride that went on for the last, I know it was only 4 or 5 minutes of game time, but for that last 20 minutes of that game, count, commercials, timeouts, all that BS, just emotional ride all over the place. All
right. So we'll fast forward just a little bit to the third down. Okay. Alabama's had snap issues off and on all year. Poor Seth has just been not consistent at all times. And that ball snapped, and it takes a hop, skip, and a jump. Luckily, Jalen gets back there and covers it up. That's a scary scenario right there. That might have been second. That was a second down play, I think, because he's going to come up and make that pass after he jumps over the line of scrimmage and comes back. We'll get to that play in just a second. But first, the bad snap. That's been happening a little bit this year with Seth. Now, what caused it, I don't know. Could have been hearing, I don't know. But, you don't want to blame external factors on that kind of stuff, but it happens. Plays happen. So then we get to the third down. I think this is where Saban lost his guts a little bit. Go back to pass. Milroe scrambles, and I didn't really notice this till I looked at the replay, the 22 from behind Alabama. As you can see, the quarterback, he had a ton of room. He could have just took off and got yardage. I mean, a lot of room. And as soon as CBS moved the camera over to Saban, and he drops a GD and says go, because he knew what should have happened there. Your thoughts on that? Was that third? Yes, third down. What do you think about that?
I want to go back to second down real quick with the snap. In the post game player interviews from Alabama, there were 4 offensive linemen that all said that the Auburn middle linebacker for Auburn clapped. That's why Seth snapped the ball. Nick Saban also said that. So he said they would review the film, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know there's been snap issues all year, but the referees and the officials have been doing a great job all year of that when the defense claps or whatever, they've been calling that a penalty. So maybe, Autry is a shit ref. He's the guy from Tennessee last year. This whole crew, they all suck. So, that just like the Burton call, I mean, Jesus, give me a break. Going to third down. Okay. Milroe, you go around that, you run the ball out there and you're looking for a receiver. Now, I know in the heat of the moment, you're not going to be looking, you're not going to turn your head and say, oh, crap, I'm past the down marker. I got to run. He should have never stopped. He had 15 to 20 yards of green grass right in front of him. He could have got down inside the 10, at least inside the 10. But like you said, I mean, Saban was pissed. I don't blame him. You got to run that. You got to. The dude can run. I mean, we saw that.
Yeah.
He led the team in rushing, with 107 yards. I mean, let him.
It just seems like those plays. LSU game, he took off on those plays, and for some reason he was a little hesitant during this game. I'm not sure what it was, but normally he makes those type of plays. So that gets us over to fourth down, and it gets us to the game winner, was turned out to be the game winner. And one more thing I mentioned about penalties, the face mask that wasn't called on Bama was pretty egregious. I think we both can agree on that. I know there's always missed calls, but that one was pretty bad when the guy's head got turned the other way. But they made up for it by calling I guess maybe the holding on Bama on the law touchdown. But that was a pretty crazy one. Let's get to fourth down. And Bama's in the gun. There's a couple of timeouts called. And Auburn, this is where I think Auburn will kick themselves in the foot for a long time on this. They dropped 8, rushed 2. The guy that was over Seth kind of bounced back, turned into a spy situation, which really kind of pointless in that, because if he takes off and runs, you got 8 guys there. He's not getting to the end zones. Once he breaks the line of scrimmage, it's like a free-for-all. So I didn't really understand that. Bond does a good job of kind of cutting back and forth. He was actually single covered. They actually doubled the guys in the middle of the field and left the 2 sides with man-to-man almost, but they doubled everybody else. That gives you 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that gives you your 6. And Milroe put a perfect pass on when we were watching the game together, guys. You didn't know. When he threw the pass, my first instinct was that ball's going out of bounds because of the trajectory of the ball. I thought it was going out of bounds. And I'll let you take it from there.
Hey, look, I was sitting right there beside you, and as soon as the ball left his hands, we both kind of said at the same time, out of bounds? Like, why are you throwing the ball out of bounds? But then you come to think about it, the angle from which we were watching from TV,
it's totally different.
And he threw that ball from the right hash to the left corner of the end zone. I think me and you rewound it and watched it a couple times. If you count not only the distance, but you count the side to side or whatever, I mean, that's close to a 50-yard pass on a rope.
It was a rope.
Auburn fans and other people, they want to say, well, he pushed off or whatever. Well, if he wasn't being held, he wouldn't have pushed off. They let it go. But, going back to what you said, the all 22, if you watch it from that view, if you watch that last play from the all 22, Jermaine Burton was open for 4 or 5 seconds.
He had his hands up.
He was waving like, hey, throw me the ball. I have on my gloves with the sticky pine tar. Just throw it right here. I'll catch it. But look, there's not a whole lot you can say. I mean, you and I have lived together through a lot of these Iron Bowl games. You and me, honk if you sack Brody. We lived through that. We lived through fear of the thumb, fear of the fingers, all that crap. We lived through, going in there undefeated and losing and then still winning the natty, kick 6, all that shit that Auburn lives by. One quick thing, they put a booth outside of one of the gates to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the kick 6 and sold merchandise for it. That's pitiful. That is absolutely pitiful. A lot of Bama fans and my friends I've talked to, since the game was over, well, what are you going to call this game? What do you think this game's called? It's called Bama won. That's the way Alabama is. We don't name games. We don't name pieces of grass. We don't make statues for people. Well, I'm going to shut up about that. But, the resolve and the restraint and the things that Jalen Milroe did, not just on that last throw, but he made some really, really big plays during that game. You got to give it up to the cat. 260 yards passing, 107 yards rushing. But the most important pass was the last one. I think we can both
Of
agree.
course. Yeah, before we get out of here in just a second, I'm going to give a quick tip of the cap to Auburn. They played a lights out ball game. They rushed the ball down Bama's throat. Bama's got to get that fixed before this weekend because Georgia's can hurt people. But tip
If
of the
Georgia,
cap to Auburn.
if Georgia runs the ball like Auburn did against Alabama, it's going to be a long day for Alabama fans.
Yeah, but I think Hugh's in a good spot there. I think he's going to have some successful seasons at Auburn. So I don't think it's like doom and gloom type stuff. So, like I said, good tip of the cap to Auburn. Guys, we'll be back with you this week with our conference championship picks, and we're going to deep dive into the SEC championship with Bama, Georgia coming up. Tremendous respect for Georgia and what Kirby's done over there. So we'll get into that later on. So y'all take care, and we'll see you.